Amy, if you're ready. All right, cool. We are on a wavelength. So hello everybody. My name is Liz Rice. I'm the Executive Director of the Indiana Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. And this is a webinar about crafting a strong resolution, everything from your state association here all the way up to the National Association of Conservation Districts. Thank you to everybody who's able to join us today. We will definitely have time for question and answer throughout this. We've scheduled a whole hour. It might not actually take that. Okay, see if I remember how to. All right, so today's flow, we're going to go over developing district policy positions and resolutions, the progress of resolution approval, district to state, up to national, and determining the appropriate level of influence for the proposed resolution. So first off, what is a resolution? I actually get this a lot from our districts here in Indiana when I put out a call for resolutions or folks are like, what are you talking about? What I don't even know what this is. So we're just going to start with some basics here. So resolutions establish your association's position or policy concerning soil and water conservation. So things about our mission. We aren't going to get into other topics like access to birth control or I pick something else, right? We aren't going to get into things like that. So we're going to stay focused on soil and water conservation. Resolutions are presented and then put to a vote at our annual business meeting, which typically happens in December or January. So who can submit a resolution? Soil and water conservation districts, regional associations of conservation districts, and state association standing committees may submit resolutions. So for the Indiana Association, our standing committees are the executive, governance, legislative, and finance committees. So those individual committees can also submit resolutions. The report of the resolutions committee is going to be part of the agenda at our annual business meeting. And I think it's important to note that a quorum is only 1/3 of the membership. So only a third of members actually need to be present to review and vote upon resolutions. So something to just kind of keep in mind. Typically, quorums are around 50%. In our bylaws, only 30% of members. So here's the flow chart of resolution approval, and welcome those who have just joined. Feel free to type in the chat where you're coming in from, and if you have any fun 4th of July plans. So the flow chart of resolution approval, district to state and to national. So these dates change slightly every year depending on when the individual days fall, like if it's on a Monday or Sunday, for example. But typically by mid-September, resolutions are due to the state association. And I have a link. I'll kind of walk through what this all looks like. A few weeks after that, sometime in October, the resolutions are reviewed for adequate information. If there's any clarifications that need to be or some slight tweaks to language to make it more formal, the State Association Board reviews all of those. Resolutions with comments, suggested edits, etc., are emailed back to districts for discussion at your local board meetings to be like, these are the questions we have, your local board needs to discuss, and then come back to us with what you approve. And then in early January, we'll do a briefing session. Last year, our state association here in Indiana, we did a virtual resolutions review in, I think, November to have more time for everybody to really discuss ahead of the business meeting. So there was almost a whole month or a local board meeting between that resolutions review virtually and when everybody's actually voting on them. And that month, that additional board meeting gave all of our districts additional time to really consider how they were going to vote. So I think we're going to do that again this year and moving forward. It was a very popular idea and really seemed to help. So at our annual business meeting, this year it's going to be in mid to late January, delegates will vote on resolutions. Then moving forward, if a resolution passes, The association executive director and the board act on those. So it's almost like helping a resolution that passes influences the work plan and priorities of your association. And it also shares progress updates to membership at the annual meeting or regularly throughout the year. Resolutions submitted to your state association should correspondingly be state level. So examples, something that passed was adding invasive plants to what CWI funds can be used for. That is state level, right? A resolution that failed was an issue regarding something to do with county landfills in one specific county. So if Elkhart County, I'm picking on Elkhart because I'm from Elkhart County. Let's say Elkhart County has an issue with its local landfill department or Department of Solid Waste, whatever it is. They bring that to the state association. That's only a local issue, and it's not something the state association can do much with. I think for me, regional issues, so like let's say something that covers a quarter of the state or a particularly large and impactful watershed, that's something that should also be brought, even though it's not technically state level, it's still really quite broad. So let's see. Okay. So I'm going to link to this. You can see me. Whoops. Let's see if I can get into this. Okay, cool. So a resolution submission form. This is how our state association accepts resolutions. It's all online these days. So you have the title of your resolution, the SWCD that's submitting it, the contact person, the explanation of the promise or of the problem or need. So tee it up, like what is the issue here? And then propose your solution. And then say, if this resolution passes, what are the benefits to be expected? And then there's a specific action that is requested. It could be push for a change in code. It could be don't send dues checks until November or something. Or, it could be very, very specific things, internal, external. It could be legislative. It could be how the association is structured. You can really get pretty broad here. Provide a detailed explanation of this resolution, and then the supervisor's signatures. So we want our supervisors to be on board. It isn't just one staff member or just one supervisor that thinks like, this is my specific issue and I'm just going to take this as far as I can. We do want to have that unified voice. And then the date signed. So let's see, I'll show you an example. Okay, we're just going to go with this one from Knox County from last year. So a district consolidation study committee. This one actually failed. So we have an explanation of the problem, a proposed solution, as you can see on the screen here. Stronger benefits expected. Be it resolved that the association establish a district consolidation study. So that's the actual title. If it passes, that would be the title of the resolution, the list of people that are on board with this, that are supporting it, and the date signed. So the whole form itself is really quite simple and straightforward, I think, but it's very important to have a solid resolution with a lot of backing that's been fairly well thought out. And if you have an idea for a resolution, I'm just gonna lob something in there and say something about data centers. A resolution that says you need to do something about data centers is not, well, that's probably a true thing. It's probably not going to pass. You need to be a little bit more well thought out and a little bit more specific about what that specific requested action is of the state association. And your executive director, members of your board, etc., can really help you with that as well. Okay, so tips for crafting, I would kind of led myself into here. Strengthen numbers, get the support of other SWCDs. I don't know how often you all work outside of your own county. In Indiana, we have county-based SWCDs. Maybe consider drawing in other partners and be like, we collectively think that this is an important topic that needs to be addressed. So also you need the support of your board. You can't just have one or two members of your board thinking that this is kind of a personal issue that they want to address. You need that unified voice. And then build momentum. So communicate to other SWCDs and partners, even if they aren't signing on, communicate to them that they're submitting this resolution, invite feedback, and ask for their support when it comes time to vote. So, hi Heidi. There she is. Hi Heidi. Welcome. Love having a couple other states in here. So again, this, for those of you who joined us a little bit late, this will be recorded. So you can go back and check it out if you hear anything that you really want to dig into a little bit more. You can drop questions in the chat. You can raise your hand, and we'll have time at the end as well. So the reason that I'm saying like communicating to other SWCDs and partners that you're submitting this resolution is that you could actually get quite a lot of feedback from folks who are working outside the SWCD space. Here in Indiana, we work pretty closely with, for example, Nature Conservancy, Purdue Extension, Department of Ag, etc. So maybe they have an idea or a bit of feedback that could help you strengthen, that could really help you strengthen or provide more nuance to your resolution. So determining the appropriate level of influence for the proposed resolution, this seems fairly straightforward to me, at least. The level of influence, we already talked about how things that affect only like one individual county are generally not going to be good material for a resolution unless it has state level or regional potential for impact. So thinking like, are you looking at a regional, a multi-county, a watershed-based resolution, a state level thing, or even a national level thing? So for us in Indiana, actually, Indiana is submitting to our NACD, National Association of Conservation Districts, North Central Region, a resolution to support the Ohio River Basin Restoration Program Act, which is actually a national issue. It covers, I think, 9+ states. So that's a national thing. Something to do with Clean Water Indiana, that is not national, that's a state level thing. So I think it's pretty straightforward, but if I'm missing something or if there's confusion there, we can dive into it again in the chat or in questions afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to go into the strengths and some of the drawbacks with this whole resolution process as I explained to it. Getting the approval of your Association of Soil and Water Districts, having that quorum vote on a resolution lends significant strength to it rather than going out on your own. I had a district come to me and ask like, hey, my board really wants to change the state flower from the peony to the native butterfly milkweed. Should we just go to the state house and do that? And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You might be unsuccessful if you're going on your own, but that's something that you could submit as a resolution to your state association. And then we can act, if it passes, we can act together with a unified voice using all of the resources that your state association has and those connections at the state house and such. We can really help get that passed. And if we don't get it passed, we'll let you know why, and we can try again later. Again, resolutions are good for 5 years here in Indiana. So a resolution calls upon your state association to bring in partners, its political influence, and other resources to help address that issue. As I alluded to, not all resolutions are going to be successfully resolved. That's the nature of trying to make change, is not everything gets through. Your association is going to keep you apprised of developments throughout the process. And I would say this is, I've seen this kind of broadly in different places at different times. If your association is not keeping you updated of a resolution that you submitted and that was passed, that was approved, hold your association accountable. We are here for, by, and because of you, our soil and water districts. So hold us accountable. Associations can get pretty busy at times trying to meet all of these stakeholders' needs and questions and such. So just reach out and be like, hey, what's the update here? I'll say that Holly down in Warwick County, she has been really good at holding your state association accountable on one resolution regarding spraying under power lines. So I need to have another call with her about that. So there's some drawbacks too. I mean, resolutions are a really cool way to influence the state's direction and its priorities when it comes to conservation and the things that soil and water districts are experts in, but there are some drawbacks to how this process works. It mostly comes to a bit of slowness. So resolutions are only received and heard just once per year, usually right before the Indiana legislative session starts. Legislative session starts in January. Our annual meeting is in January. So it's a kind of a poor time to start working on legislative issues if there's something urgent coming up. NACD, National Association resolutions, are also only heard annually, I believe. So this can be a slower process than is desired. Your state association, we really do endeavor to keep districts updated on legislative changes and urgent issues ahead of and during state session as well as federal. So our standing legislative committee can act really quite quickly, though. But due to this process, knowing that resolutions last for 5 years, thinking strategically and long term, which districts can be really quite good at, is probably the way to go. Or there could be a resolution or a change by the board to really change the current process to be more nimble and more reactive. There's some issues with kind of that idea, but I guess I inserted that bit at the end there about changing the current process just to remind everybody, our districts, that you can change how things are currently done. This process has been the same for a very long time, but time has marched on. Has this process kept up to pace with the times? It's a good question to think about. Okay. I said that we would probably, oh yeah, that's super quick. I said we'd probably get through this pretty quickly. I am here for questions, for ideas. If you in your district or your state are interested in bouncing around ideas, I know I lobbed a hot button topic of data centers in here for fun. We can do that as well. So I guess I'll start with what questions do y'all have? What should I go back and dig into a little bit more? Feel free to turn on your camera, unmute. Feel free to just type in the chat if you're feeling shy. That's what y'all are thinking, especially for our friends from out of state that are in here. Crystal and Heidi, you can look up and see this is the Indiana State House. Okay. What ideas have you all thought about or potentially discussed for resolutions for the Indiana Association? And if we're all being quiet, that's okay too. You know, we're heading into a holiday weekend here, a very hot holiday weekend. Give it a few more beats, and then I think we'll stop recording and start saying our goodbyes. Amy, what do you think?
Well, I was just thinking, Ken Gunkel is on here and he's been through the process. I didn't know if he might have anything he would want to comment about that.
And if you are available, I know you might be driving or something.
Also, I sent a reminder in the chat that this is being recorded and will be posted on the IASWCD website.
Got a quiet crowd today. I thought this would be, they're gonna be popping off. No. No fireworks here. Cool. Well, hopefully that is a quick and easy to digest introduction to what resolutions are, how to submit them, how to craft a strong one. And yeah, this will be recorded and send it to all of your friends throughout the soil and water world so that they can learn. And I would love to have a ton of really, really cool resolutions this coming January. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.